A new report recently found that product pricing in the U.S. remains very confusing for consumers. While the Federal Trade Commission has a Fair Packaging and Labeling Act, many industries, especially food, are exempt, and inconsistency is actually the norm. But this is perhaps by design. U.S. corporations are enjoying a situation where consumers are confounded by complex labeling and fine print and contracts that transfer more and more of the burden onto them and lacks government enforcement of existing standards. In a new book entitled All You Can Pay, co-authors Anna Bernasek and D.T. Morgan make the case for how companies are using data that they gather about people to determine the highest price they can squeeze out of them. It's an insidious story of corporate surveillance, among other things. One reviewer said, All You Can Pay is a truly devastating critique of today's information-based predatory capitalism that everyone must read. Indeed, it's arguably the Das Kapital of the 21st century. Anna Bernasek writes the Data Points column for the New York Times and is a writer for Newsweek. She's covered economics and business as a journalist and author for more than 20 years. And D.T. Morgan is a lawyer based in New York, specializing in finance and corporate transactions. The two of them are co-authors of the new book, All You Can Pay, How Companies Use Our Data to Empty Our Wallets. Welcome to Uprising, Anna and DT.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks. It's really a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us. Now, companies have always wanted to know information about consumers and traditionally had called it market research. How has the digital age, not just the fact that we do so much of our shopping online, but just the fact that we communicate so much online, changed the way or enabled companies to have more access than ever before to market research data?
Well, I'm going to jump in, Sonali, first and just say, I mean, what we have now is like an unprecedented situation in that companies really know everything about us or can potentially know everything about us. And that's what's really unusual. Dan, you jump in. And
Yeah, the scale of the data collection has increased in a geometric way. So the amount of data that's being collected today and that we expect to be collected in the near future is really rapidly growing.
And so I remember there were a time when consumer sort of loyalty supermarket cards were what companies used to gather data, for example, on what you might buy to shop for groceries in your house. But it seems like a dream come true today for them to be able to sift through all our communications, the things that we click on, the things we look at, but also what we mention or might mention in our emails to one another as indicators for what we might want to buy and how much we might want to pay. Dan?
Yeah, that's very accurate. It turns out that the best consumer loyalty card system is actually your mobile phone. It follows you everywhere. It keeps a record of where you are in real time, and it tells a lot about what you're doing and what you have done. When you combine that with the other platforms, tablets, PCs, and then all the offline stuff, it's really a massive amount of data that's being collected. I think people are generally aware that there's a concern with the government use of this data, but we actually think that the private commercial use is much more significant.